Well, welcome to Sunburnt Souls. My name's Dave Quack. I'm here with Jess Quack. Hello, Jess.
Hello, Dave.
On this show, we speak about life and faith in our mental well-being. And this is definitely not the first take of trying to do this podcast together. If you're in the creative space and you ever do anything as a couple, it's, 95% amazing and 5% craziness and little fights. Not huge fights because we're still going. You're nice that you haven't ditched me, but... we've even got the dog in here, which I hate having because he snores, which he will soon, but it's better than him being outside barking because even though the podcast studio is so soundproof and amazing, barks come through. So welcome to 2026, the year of funny disagreements and dogs barking when they shouldn't. Jess, how's your year been so far?
Not bad. It's it's good to have a sort of clean slate going ahead into the year. Yeah, I know that for me, it's a good time to mark new things and new rhythms and making sure I'm sort of on track.
Yeah.
How about you?
Oh, yeah. Well, I'm excited because a few weeks ago, last week, you preached at church about getting a word for the year. Letting a prophetic word or a verse, a Bible verse or a song or something be kind of like over you for the year. And I, as you said that in church, got the word freedom, which was kind of encouraging and a bit surprising because I'm actually not naturally a free person. Like I naturally walk in bondage. I'm a little bit of a toxic, serious person. I can have fun, but my head games aren't fun. And so like a lot when it comes to freedom feels like it's a long way away, but I'm claiming it because as we start this new series, we're talking about biblical heroes who struggled mentally. And so struggling mentally doesn't stop you from eventually having freedom, and it doesn't stop you from being used in ministry, and it doesn't stop you having a full life. And so, I'm excited about this this series, and I also wanted to shout out and thank everyone for letting us have a good break. We had 6 weeks off not dropping any episodes, and it was nice to recalibrate and rethink things through and pray.
Yeah, it was good. I like the idea of this series as well, Dave, because there's something so special with seeing the reality of the people on the page of the Bible. Even though we may call them heroes, they're not necessarily people who are living these perfect lives. In fact, for the most part, they're not. They are often having their worst days as well as their best days put out there, and we see that, and so we can relate to that, and we see the way that God doesn't just toss them aside because they're having hard days, but instead that he'll take them on their best day and he'll use that to do amazing things for a lot of people.
Yeah, it's true. And we had to narrow the list down because literally nearly everyone in the Bible has something going on as in society. I'm not saying every biblical hero has mental illness or anything. And I'm not even, Jess and I both aren't going to be in a place where we diagnose this person has that condition or whatever because we're not qualified. But we're going to make some notes on different people who did struggle mentally. And today we're talking about the prophet Elijah.
Yeah. So this guy is so special. We see him as a prominent figure in the Old Testament, and we also see him referred back to quite a lot in the New Testament as well. He's seen as a prophet who is one of the sort of really great guys that they look back on and say, this is where God was really using someone significantly, and we need to look back on that and remember that as we go forward. So it's really special that this guy is seen that way despite the fact that he does have some really significant struggles.
Yeah. And if you want context, you can pause and read 1 Kings 18 and 19. What Jess and I will do is catch you up to the point where it is a fork in the road for him. So basically in that area, there were these pagan god and goddesses called the Baals or the Baals or the... Baals.
Yeah.
The B-A-A-L. And then the Asheroths, which were kind of like the male and, or the, masculine and feminine representations of the same deity. And these deities kind of tricked people, I guess, into thinking that if you sacrifice things to them, they would increase your harvest, they would give you children. It was basically like a really expensive exchange program. Exchange your grains and it's going to rain. And it didn't work, obviously, because that's not how any deity would work. And it's also especially not true in Israel, where God is the God of the people.
Yeah.
So we see this challenge that God says to Elijah, hey, you need to go to these people and tell them that they are in the wrong.
Yeah, and it comes after quite a lot of already intensity. So Elijah has already come before the king, who is just the worst king, really, they've ever seen.
Is that Ahab?
Ahab and his wife, Jezebel. So she's quite famous for how terrible she was. So even today we know her name because she really was leading people astray down some really dark paths. And so they have gone through this massive drought for years, and there are people everywhere searching for Elijah, trying to kill him. And their prophets are being killed, and so he's hiding out. God's got him in a widow's house, performing these miracles to keep him alive and bringing his son back to life. And so he finally comes and he goes, okay, this is it. Let's have a showdown. Let's see who really is God. And then whoever is God, that's who we worship. Stop putting your foot in both camps, because we need to worship the true God.
Yeah. And so there's about 400 prophets of Baal getting around. Probably more, but they're the ones that got called together. Mm-hmm. Elijah says, come to this mountaintop, okay, let's cut up a bull each. So they cut a bull apart and have like an altar each, which is like a fireplace area, stones and a place where you could, leave the animal. And then Elijah says, all right, let's call on our gods. Okay, you call on your God, I'll call on my God. And the God who answers with fire, he's the real God.
Yeah. Yeah. And so this is a really, like you say, he's drawing a line and he's saying enough is enough. And God is saying enough is enough to the people who are doing this. And it's before all the people of Israel as well. And so he has probably one of the funniest moments that you enjoy
it's
for a
verse
prophet.
27.
Yeah. Go for it, Dave.
Just in verse 27, like they've been, carrying on before Baal from morning till noon, which is a long time to cry out to someone who's not there. And then at noon, it says in verse 27, Elijah starts taunting them.
Yeah.
He's like, shout louder. Surely he's a god. And he's like, perhaps he's deep in thought, or busy, or traveling. Maybe he's asleep. One of them says maybe he's just relieving himself. One version says that maybe your God's on the toilet.
Yeah.
Right. Elijah starts mocking them. Now, I'm not one to go and mock people's gods and yell out things like that at them. But it was a showdown. It was an actual okay, if God's going to answer, he needs to answer now. And then you'll be proven right or you'll be proven wrong. It was a line in the sand. Yeah. And so we know by reading that passage that they call out all day. They get to a point where they're frantically slashing themselves and trying to get attention, of a God that's not there. And then Elijah simply just walks out there, douses the thing in water, which is interesting because it's a drought. So everyone's like, dude, what are you doing with this water? Yeah. And then cries out to God, and fire comes from heaven and explodes the place. Yeah. God's name is lifted up. Elijah rounds up all those prophets, kills them all, and there's like a cleansing of this like darkness that was over the nation. Yeah. So he was literally on the mountaintop.
Yeah. Yeah, and mountaintops have such significance biblically because the Bible Project actually do an amazing series on the mountaintop where it talks about how even Eden at the very beginning is this place of meeting with God at this mountaintop. And then you see all these experiences and in the ancient mind as well as in practice, a mountaintop was a place where the sort of veil between heaven and earth is opened and you meet with God. It's a meeting place with God. It's a place of blessing. And it's also somewhat a place of testing. And so that's really gone down here. And it's been a very visible representation of what's happening in the spiritual realm. And it's gone, okay, well, God is the winner. Here we go. You've agreed to this. This is what's happened. The test, God has come out. And you would expect after this that there just would have been this massive party that went on for days because they've just seen this incredible thing. Elijah's now like, our God is the winner. We agreed to the terms of this. Woohoo! But it doesn't quite go down like that.
Like you'd think after that, if he was an Australian evangelist, he'd write a book, sell it and go on the speaking tour talking about how big his victory was on Mount Carmel. But it doesn't happen that way. So a little bit later, there's a few other things that happen, but then a little bit later, word gets back to Jezebel that this has all happened. So she sends a message to Elijah saying that she's going to kill him. And this man who's just seen such a victory goes from the mountaintop, down the mountaintop, into the valley, leaves his servant there, goes into the woods another day just to get away because he's so scared. He's anxious. He goes from mountaintop to hell overnight, and I think that's the pinch point I want to focus on today, is that even someone as incredible as Elijah, when pushed and when challenged, can also lose his mind.
Yeah, and it's so interesting that it says it's really only after the threat from Jezebel that it says in verse 19, verse 3, then he was afraid. He wasn't afraid in front of all these people before. He wasn't afraid when he was in a drought. He wasn't afraid when there was no food or drink. He wasn't afraid coming towards Ahab. But in this moment, even after this incredible experience, he is afraid and he flees into the wilderness, which biblically is a very significant place to go. It's this aloneness, a place of desolation and desperation. It's a place of testing. It's a place of revelation where God meets his people. But it's something that actually happens in leadership, in church, in spiritual walks often. You can have this amazing experience on a Sunday. We used to call it the Monday hangover. Where God would do all these incredible things, and then Monday comes, and I think it's a emotional thing, it's a physiological thing, it's a spiritual thing where you've had the joy and the excitement and the adrenaline and it's all happening, and then on Monday it's this spiritual hangover feeling of where you just feel a little bit less strength than you had the day before, where you really should be going, wow, God has done so much here. I can count on him to continue doing stuff in the future. But it's almost as if you're not really careful, leaning into that strength continually, you do tend to fall back on yourself in that moment. And we see Elijah do that. And he comes to a place where in verse 4 of chapter 19, he asks God that he would die. And he says, it is enough. He's come to the end of himself. He has been fighting for so long, and he's finally come to this challenge that he thinks should have ended it all. The drought has ended. All these miracles have happened. And it's like he's come to the place mentally where he's like, I fought so hard to get this victory, and now I just don't have anything left.
Yeah, he prays to die. Like a suicidal prayer.
Yeah.
Like, call it what it is. If you've ever been like, God, take me out of this place.
Yeah.
No condemnation. You're in the same company as Elijah.
Yeah.
And so he lays down, and I kind of like that he just leaves his servant person and goes another day by himself.
Yeah.
Because we have no Find My Phone or anything. Like, this servant, if he would never be able to find him again unless he's some sort of insane tracker. And then I love how he just lays underneath a tree.
Yeah.
And goes to sleep.
Yeah. You
ever felt, I know I do, Jess, like where it is too much that I just want to go somewhere where no one will find me and just go to sleep.
Yeah.
There's something therapeutic about going to sleep. It's like the anxiety can't get you while you're asleep, and the people can't come near you while you're asleep. It's this temporary, amazing escape.
Yeah.
That's where we find the prophet Elijah. And so, he goes to sleep, and then God does something cool, which I love. What does he do?
Yeah. So he actually sends an angel to him. And I love this part of this account because he's there in the middle of the wilderness. He's got a day's journey into it. So he's sort of in the middle of nowhere. There's nothing around him. And an angel comes to him and brings him food and drink and says, get up and eat.
Yeah.
Take care of your physical body. He's not asking him to get up and go back. He's not asking him to do something wild. It's just take care of your physical body in this time. And I think that is really significant for when you're in this place, is to go, okay, maybe I can't conquer a mountain right now, but I need to continue to take care of my physical body so that I can do the next step. So he eats and he drinks, and it actually says, get up and eat, otherwise the journey will be too much for you. There is this acknowledgement here that, like, look, things are hard, but you're going to only make it harder on yourself if you don't look after yourself here. Get up, eat and drink, and then he goes back to sleep, and this continues to happen.
Sorry to interrupt, but if Sunburnt Souls has helped you or blessed you in any way, can I please ask a favour? Could you please tell somebody about it, or repost a link, or bring it up over dinner with a mate? As a small podcast, we grow by word of mouth and we don't have a big budget for advertising, but we know there's so many people out there that are walking with their own faith and mental illness, or they're supporting someone else who's also walking with their own mental health issues. It'll cost you about 30 seconds to promote or share a link, but the outcome in someone else's life could really be super positive. So thanks so much. Let's get back to the episode. I think it's crazy too, because, like, you know, if anyone could say the words, but I've got a mission from God that I have to accomplish. I can't sleep. I can't wait. I can't rest. It would be Elijah, you know?
Yeah.
Like he wasn't 100% alone, as we see in the rest of the passage, but he was a bit alone. Do you know what I mean? Like there wasn't many with his authority getting around. He couldn't palm it off to anyone else. He had to, you know, rest and keep going. And I reckon sometimes people who are in ministry, or even treat work like ministry, like we all should, where that's the place where we bring God, that's the place where we use to teach people about Jesus and show the goodness of God. Sometimes we don't have enough energy for the rest of the journey, but we also don't stop. And so you can't do it without the rest.
Yeah. It's really interesting here on a theological level as well. I think it was Tim Mackey pointed out it's almost an inversion of what happened with Moses on the mountain. So Moses goes up on the mountain, and the people of God down the mountain just decide, you know what, God's taking too long, so we're going to come up with our own gods and give them all the credit for what God has done. And so God is up the mountain, and Moses intercedes on behalf of the people and God says, I'm going to just wipe these people out. And Moses stands between the people and God and says, you know what, God, if you're going to take them away, take me away too, because you have called this people, have mercy on them. You know, don't let your name be sort of sullied by this happening. Instead, you know, have mercy on them and then come with us. And God did. Whereas Elijah, he had a very similar leadership position, and he had some similar struggles, sort of different but similar. And instead of having that sort of where he almost should have been from a biblical perspective going, God, you can do this. I will give my life for the people. He's saying, the people are too much. I'm going to give my life for my comfort. But that's not to say that that's not a legitimate place to be. And I like that even though this is somewhat a failure from a leadership perspective, God doesn't treat it as if it is a failure from a leadership perspective. He meets Elijah here in this place and goes, okay, I see that you're here. I see your perspective, and I'm going to meet you here. And I mean, leadership is not just leading a nation, leading a church. It is if you have any form of influence over people, if they're following your example, if you are a parent, if you are a mentor, if you are a friend, you have a form of leadership. And God sort of really wants to meet you even in those sort of failure moments.
Yeah.
And when you feel like it is too much and it is annoying, and it can be, like this has come off the back of him giving and giving and giving and giving, and he's just had enough.
I like what you said. Hey, God does meet him there.
Yeah.
Because, you know, he doesn't turn up and go, naughty Elijah. Like, he's like, hey, you're tired, dude. Have some food. Have some water.
Yeah.
He kind of mansplains him a little bit, hey? Like,
Yeah.
if you get a burnt out man, give him some food and water and let him sleep for a couple of days. And
Yeah, it's just going back to the simple things.
Yeah.
Like, let's just take care of yourself.
And, you mentioned that if he doesn't rest, the journey's going to be too big, because we see after this that he goes on this massive journey and walks all over the place and sees God in the cleft of the rock, and his life doesn't end in any way there.
No, it's a very significant experience. He has this incredible revelation of God on the mountain straight after this. Another interesting thing I find so much of this interesting. One thing that I really keeps coming out to me is how often when Elijah's in this mental place, he keeps saying, I am alone. I am the only one. I am the only one who is left. And then, yet God kind of doesn't go, no, you're not. Because he legitimately feels that way, that he's been carrying this burden in and of himself. And that is something that we can often, when we're in a dark place, feel that we are the only one carrying the burden. We are the only one making the sacrifices. We are the only one who is having the difficulties, and everyone else is either against us or leaving it to us to do all the work.
Yeah.
And yet, like verse 18 of chapter 19, God is like, there are 7,000 in Israel who have been faithful to me. You may feel like one, but you're one of 7,000. And then the passages after this, it continues to say that God has these groups of prophets, pockets of them all over the place. And they meet with Elijah and they meet with Elisha, and he goes to anoint Elisha not long after this. Yeah. So he's actually not alone. He's one of many, but he feels that way.
Yeah. It can be like that. I know that's something I battle, is when I'm going hard in ministry. Mm-hmm. I can sometimes be like, I'm doing it all by myself and nobody cares. And I remember you got me once, actually, in a good way. I was ranting like that, and you said, well, I'm here. And then it really dawned on me, you look at all what you would perceive as absent people, and when you do that, you dishonour the people that are really in your world.
Yeah.
And most importantly, God, He is with us.
Yeah.
Imagine this year. This year we're going to plant a church. Well, actually, in 4 weeks we're going to plant a church. If we had the mindset of I'm all alone, I'm all by myself, no one's pulling the weight, that will be a miserly church to go to.
Yeah. Yeah. There'd be no sense of joy in it, because as well there's no sense of shared victory either. There's something in it that Elijah got to have this moment on the mountain that no one had, because he paid the price that no one else did.
Yeah.
A couple of on Mount Carmel, and then at the mount out after the wilderness, he had these moments where God just made himself known so much, and then God gives him supersonic speed another minute and all this sort of stuff. Meanwhile, there's 100 other prophets who have been hiding in caves, not getting to have this for the last however many years. Elijah's been there getting fed supernaturally. They've been getting fed through, a faithful servant in the palace coming and doing that. So there are things that are positives and negatives to sort of being the one leading the way, but he's not the only one. Yeah. And none of us are the only one. We actually have people around us, and it's important to continue investing that. It's actually really funny, I think, later, because Elijah goes and anoints Elisha, and he becomes his apprentice in prophecy. And it's kind of hilarious, because it's almost as if God goes, oh, you feel alone, do you? Well, I'm going to send you someone who's never going to leave you alone. And it's this constant thing of Elijah going, okay, I'm going to go over there now, you stay here. And he goes, no, wherever you go, I'm coming with you. Just constantly over and over again. And these other prophets are going, God is going to take Elijah from you. And Elijah's like, well, I'm going with him anyway. And it's almost as if you can almost see Elijah just going, oh, dear, just leave me alone for a minute, would you, please?
That's so good.
And so it's he has people, and there are other people paying a price as well. But that's a real lie when our mental health is not doing well, that we need to battle against, is that we are alone.
Yeah.
That we're the only one And especially because we do have God with us
Yeah.
in all of it.
He really is there. If you are watching Elijah's life, God is in Elijah's life wherever Elijah is. So, like, we started with talking about a mountaintop experience where we saw God move mightily.
Mm-hmm.
If that's where you're at and you're in a place where you're seeing God move mightily, you're seeing miracles happen, you're just excited about being a Christian and following Jesus and everything, enjoy that. Like, there's nothing wrong with enjoying that. It is something you should be thanking God for and resting in and being stoked about.
Yeah.
But then if it flips and you get threatened and withdraw and need to be alone, God is in that too.
Yeah.
God is there with you too.
Mm-hmm.
You don't have to feel that your mental well-being is a disqualifying factor. Then when you come out of it and see God in the cleft of a rock, like Elijah does, God's in that too.
Yeah.
Like he's in the experiential and the supernatural and the, feeling God's presence. And then if you're mentoring someone else and they're learning from you, God's in that too.
Yeah.
I just don't want people to think that the down times and the depressive times and the anxious times are intrinsically disobedient.
Yeah.
Because it's not. And I think one of the detrimental things the church has maybe taught people is that mental ill health isn't just a mental ill health thing. It's a discipleship issue.
Yeah.
That if you're walking with it, you must have done something wrong to God, or it's just not the case, man.
No. And at the same time, there are very practical and spiritual steps that you can take while in that place. Just because you're there doesn't mean that you need to continue to sit there forever either.
Yeah.
Because it's not long after this that, Elijah has all sorts of other things going on. And so it's this journey, this life with God. And there will be times that look different to others, and that's okay. And there are going to be times that are annoying. Elijah got very annoyed. He got accused. He got chased. He was strong. He was weak. He was great. He was awful. He was weird. He was normal. He had all the things going on. But there wasn't a single time in the whole lot that you see God abandoning him.
Yeah. Biblical heroes, as we call them, have mental well-being issues. You're in good company if you're listening to this too. I'm a pastor. I got bipolar disorder. I got mental health issues. Jess, I'm not going to air her dirty laundry, but man, it's a lot of laundry. She's got a lot going on. We all have something. Hey, I honestly reckon, just to round out with the theology of why people get mentally ill, is that the world is broken. That there is a brokenness that infected the world because we see it, that death, brokenness, decay, all of that, it is present and it is horrible, but it's also not personal. The way I like to picture it is like, imagine there's a bucket and inside that bucket are all the unideal things that people go through. So for me, it's bipolar. That's unideal. I'll put it in the bucket. It doesn't stop me being a pastor. It doesn't stop me being a good dad and husband. Sometimes it complicates things, but I can still do that because I can do all things through Christ who strengthens me. So in the bucket's the bipolar. Some people have maybe a physical condition. Some people might have, insulin dependence diabetic or whatever it is. Just picture a big bucket of all the brokenness that happens this side of eternity. And the way I like to picture it is that we walk past and stuff just jumps out of the bucket and latches onto us. We didn't do it. There's things we can do to help grow, but it's not like someone with leukemia did anything to get leukemia.
No.
Do you know what I mean? Like, it's just because the world's messed up, it's stuffed. And it's the same with mental illness. If you're walking past the bucket and you're schizophrenic, for example, it's not because of you, it's because the world's broken.
Yeah.
Now, in all of our mental health conditions, we can do things to help it be better and to manage it better. And even Elijah, sometimes just to do a bit of self-care and have a sleep and a good feed and a rest for a couple of days, there's things we can do. But I don't want anyone to ever think that they caused their own issues. You can improve your issues, but the intrinsic source of that isn't a discipleship problem.
Yeah.
Do you agree with that?
Yeah. absolutely. I mean, yeah. So I guess the question is going into this year, and one thing that I like to ponder as well as I look at my, how am I going to approach this year, is in this year you are going to face difficulties. There are going to be times when parts of your year are not ideal, and it can be because of your own mental, struggles. It could be someone you love. It could be that you face death, the loss of something, someone's hurt, whatever it may be. The question is, how are you going to approach that day when it comes?
Yeah.
And there are some very practical things that Elijah's life gives us when we face those moments. Resting properly, eating, drinking, going to God. Recognizing that we are part of a wider community. Making sure that we find that community and invest there. There are some things that God has made us to be able to flourish in, and not necessarily that is the most easy thing to do in those moments, but it's worth pondering even this week. How will you face difficulties this year when they come? And will you try and escape it, or are you going to run to God?
Yeah. I actually reckon that's a great point and a great place to pull this up. I think we should pull up stumps. Look forward to next week as well, when we debrief another biblical hero who also struggled with their mental well-being. But as you just declared, Jess, do we run towards God? I ask you to pray over everyone that's what we do.
Yeah. Lord God, thank you that you have assured us that though we may and will face difficulties in this life, that you have overcome, and you are with us and you never leave us. And so I ask that as we come into this year, whether the person listening right now is going through some difficulties right now, or whether there will be days ahead where there might be some things that are just not ideal, that you'll be reminding them in that moment, tapping them on the shoulder in that moment, about your presence that is there with them, and that they can turn to you and embrace you for your comfort, your joy, your hope, your peace, and surrender to you not only the good stuff, but the hard stuff too. That you'll take that burden and lift it and help carry us as we walk with you. In Jesus' name we pray. Amen.
Amen.